Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is, again, not April. It is February 19th, 2025. Business and social stories for the middle of the week.
And power. Power is the new thing. Not like the general idea of power, but electricity. We need it. And the people need it, but the people aren't going to be getting it. Somebody else is going to be getting it.
Data center power demand almost doubled in Virginia, Virginia utilities say. And this is because Virginia is close to Washington, D.C. and the Eastern Seaboard.
What a good selection by the editor for the photo where it's got like the nice clear divide between residential and business.
Although if you're living there, you probably have solid power.
Yeah.
So yeah, data centers. They keep making more and more and more and more of them.
They're also responsible for why your cost of electricity has gone through the roof. I mean, that plus inflation plus, it's not good.
Just everything.
Pretty soon it's going to be $1 a kilowatt hour because of course it is.
And you need the electricity to obviously run your technology, but apparently pouring more electricity into the CPUs not having much of an effect anymore.
PassMark sees the first yearly drop in average CPU performance in its 20 years of benchmark results, and there's really not a good explanation as to why.
I think it's because people are poor.
I think the PassMark should be measuring how much compute you have in a box, because the thing that they're measuring how much compute you have, the CPU, is not the only thing that does compute in that box. The GPU part of the CPU or the discrete GPU does a lot of stuff.
But good luck getting one.
Nvidia has delayed the RTX 5070 until after AMD's reveal. So this is not the 5070 Ti, this is the 5070. The one that Jensen said was as fast as a 4090 and only, what was it, $579?
It was pretty cheap. $749.
No, $549.
Oh, that's the Ti. Yeah, the Ti is $749.
Yeah. So supposedly for $549 you can get what was previously a $1,000 to $1,500 card.
But that card will come with a specter of a worry that you might have that might have been a worry that you thought was dealt with.
So the Ars Technica headline is a handful of users claim new Nvidia GPUs are melting power cables again.
That's how you know it's working.
I did some work on this. I suspect that there's pictures of melted cables and stuff. I suspect it's not the GPUs so much as it is the power supplies and the cabling. Not necessarily. I mean, user error is not, but like that connector is kind of cursed to begin with. But if you do everything properly and you're using the 12V H2 power cable, you should be okay.
But that's a huge caveat.
If you slice the goat's throat just and apply the blood to the outside of the case.
Maybe we should have, done some things to reinforce that.
My 1200 watt CompUSA power supply isn't good enough. I won't have it.
And on the AI world, of course, DeepSeek has kind of upset the apple cart, and all those billions of dollars that they've been spending. Now, maybe the shareholders and everybody in the boardroom are like, wait a minute. Are we getting our money's worth here? And OpenAI is trying to cut some costs.
The Reuters headline is OpenAI is set to finalize its first custom chip design this year. They're looking at what others are doing with their custom chips, and they want that for themselves. They also see it as a competitive differentiator, because if they're running on their own chip, then, well, what are competitors going to do?
That is TSMC, but it's a very slow process. So they're just getting started. And here is Maine passed a right to repair law. But, the wheels of government, they move slowly. Well, maybe not anymore, right? But traditionally, it took a long time to go over all this stuff, make sure everything was how it's supposed to be. And during that time, the auto industry was so busy.
The TechNerd headline is Automakers sue to kill Maine's hugely popular right to repair law. Looking for why they're suing, it seems like the automakers are just unhappy. Like these aren't even real reasons. They're just making up things.
So they say part of the rules is that you have to have an independent entity to securely administer access to vehicle data, because the government might mismanage some data. And that doesn't exist yet because, again, the wheels of government moving slowly. And so the automakers are like, well, if that doesn't exist, then you're in violation already.
If that doesn't exist, we shouldn't allow you to repair your own vehicle.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's felony contempt of business model.
And if you recall, Microsoft had a juicy Army contract. They were going to make tactical goggles using augmented reality. It failed spectacularly. The soldiers vomited a lot.
The vomit comment when you're in those stupid helmets.
So they decided to go back to the drawing board. I think that might have gone poorly, and they're looking to punt.
Drone maker Anduril is going to take over managing Microsoft's goggles. Microsoft, the HoloLens for the U.S. Army. So Microsoft still has 3 years left in that contract. So Anduril is going to take that over. But Palmer Luckey is also at the helm. Palmer Luckey thinks that he can pull out a win here ultimately. He thinks it's just a software problem and the headsets are actually quite good.
Not an inner ear problem or a human problem where it's difficult for them to parse that.
Microsoft is still going to be a part of it. They're going to do the cloud storage and some other stuff with it. Hopefully there'll be less vomiting. And this was a empty headline, but pretty much everybody ran it because...
By the time you guys are seeing it, you'll know what it is.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah.
Apple teases special product launch coming February 19th. Engagement challenge.
What is it?
Was it worthwhile? Now, the rumors have been everything from Apple is getting in the robotics game to Apple is rolling out new, more affordable products.
Most people think it's an iPhone SE4, which seems like a real disappointment for that kind of announcement. Right?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, it's the thing we've always been doing. I did not watch the Super Bowl, and I know that neither of you did either. So I missed this as it happened live, but the world found out about it during that display.
T-Mobile Starlink beta takes off. So T-Mobile and Starlink working together to get you Starlink to do stuff.
And then the fine print, not on T-Mobile's website, AT&T and Verizon get it too.
Yeah.
Not exclusive. But you get... business Verizon customers get it for free. Everybody else gets 3 months, and then you have to start paying for it.
The gimmick, gimmick is perhaps too strong a word, but because these phones can do Wi-Fi calling, the thing here is, hey, the Starlink will give you Wi-Fi calling to do satellite phone.
Yeah, so they don't have to rebuild anything.
Yeah,
which is nice. And some sad news for these spacefaring gentlemen and ladies.
Jeff Bezos backed Blue Origin to cut 10% of its workforce.
That company is not doing well.
They're having some failure to launch problems.
And you might want to check your beloved pets because planned obsolescence. Why is this not just plain text value?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the database. I'll host it. It's fine.
This makes no sense.
Microchip company ceases operations. Pet owners urged to re-register. Or just give me the database.
You just want your data for themselves.
I'll host it. It'll be fine.
My cats are chipped, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never updated the address, I guess.
I don't know if Cricket is. Rue is. But it was funny when I got her. I was like, oh, do I need to update it? And she's like, I'll give you the info if you want to. But she was like, if they ever bring her to me, I'll just give her back to you. Assuming it doesn't happen all the time.
But it sounds like in that situation, it was hitting an external.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Well, you can only you only store the ID. It doesn't actually transmit any data other than the serial number.
But you could store so much on those little things.
Yeah, you could. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having my phone number on my cat. That's okay.
The old style where you just have a piece of metal that you stamp markings into could have had your name and phone number on it.
I have Rue with a collar with our phone number on it because I don't trust her. She's a runner.
The paradox of technology.
If you've ever played RimWorld, there's a thing that you can do to your little people in RimWorld. You can give them a surgery that installs the joy wire. This is literally the joy wire.
The Guardian's headline is brain implant that could boost mood by using ultrasound to go under National Health Service trial. Well, that is one way to make people not unhappy anymore.
That and all the smoke leaf and what was the ambrosia.
It's solid in a heat wave.
I'm forced to remember
a volcanic eruption.
I'm forced to remember First Firefly chapter 15, wherein the reavers were actually caused by the thing that was supposed to help everybody calm down. In 10% of the population, they turn into reavers.
So they have some people with skull deformities or damage or whatever, because this thing apparently can't get through the skull. It's ultrasound. So for those people, they can kind of just like experiment with it. But they're also going to do some people where they go in under the skull and mount this to the top of your skull, over top of your brain. It's going to measure your brain activity. Mind reading, basically, is where we're going with this. And then it can hit you with ultrasounds to stimulate parts of your brain. Now, they do warn that ultrasound generates heat, and you don't want to heat your brain up.
Not over certain.
That was literally one of the plot points in one of the Max Headroom things. The advertising people were causing people's brains to heat.
So it's a different, I mean, it's less invasive than the Neuralink for sure. You don't have to install those little strands that tend to pop out.
But yet the heating.
But you do kind of microwave your brain. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
I need a water-cooled brain.
What an amazing future.
Well, that's an amazing future, but this is the worst possible future. I mean, this is just, I want to vomit after looking at this.
The headline is Stellantis. That's Jeep. This is Jeep. Jeep would
Well,
like
it's not
to
just Jeep.
not be mentioned here, but it's all about Jeep.
That's Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram.
Yeah. They introduced pop-up ads in their vehicles, which made people really, really angry. Really angry. Insanely, like seething, senseless.
Dark Krista angry.
Dark Krista, reavers angry, if you will.
Now, you might be thinking, well, my car already sometimes pops things up when I start it, and that's annoying, but, you know, it's whatever. You click the X. No. This is every time the vehicle comes to a stop.
Yeah. What an amazing dark future.
Oh, man.
This, I really think that we need to spearhead a grassroots moment to reassert property rights, like things you own. It's like, I own the vehicle, I should be able to modify this. And any kind of like DMCA nonsense for like, oh, you can't modify this, or you can't, it will lose the copy protection if you modify your infotainment system. Yeah, we'll just put all that to bed and take over. It's like, I own this vehicle, this is going to stop.
Got a couple of billion to back that with? 'Cause that's what you're up against.
A couple of billion, or, you know, maybe some helpers, you know, like from the video game.
Plumbers?
Yeah. Of a sort.
Well, those of you out there, engagement challenge, what kind of screen are you looking at us on? Because apparently it's changing, and in a surprising way, considering everybody's obsession with their phones.
YouTube surprise, CEO says TV overtakes mobile as the primary device for viewing. I was talking to somebody that I know that works in Google about this earlier this week, and they said that internally their team sees this as they've put an obscene amount of work into making it easy for you to cast from your mobile phone to the TV. And the stat here was that people still start out on their TV, or I mean on their phone, but they cast to larger screens. Like they'll use their phone as a remote, or to find content, or to respond to a pop-up about something that they might want to watch. But then they'll start watching the thing on the TV and then keep using their phone for other things, or laptop.
And
I gotta stay completely oblivious. I don't want to have even the passing thought.
Their point with that was that they had to do all of this work to make it easy to push to a TV, and that they would have been here 10 years ago if it was easy to push the content to a TV, but it never was.
Well, if you are a Chrome user, then you know that the password manager is aggressive about any kind of changes you make. But now it's removing the weak link in that, which is you.
Google Chrome may soon use AI to replace compromised passwords. So you use a password to sign into a website, and Google Chrome remembers the password. Google Chrome also knows how to change the password. It'll just go ahead and change it for you.
Now, for now, that's only going to happen when you start the browser, and it is going to ask you. But I'm sure that will evolve.
It's another reason not to use Chrome.
Oh my God, what a lead-in, Krista, because here's yet another one.
Brave now lets you inject custom JavaScript to tweak websites. In before rights holders will say that's illegal.
Now, we used to have plugins called Grease Monkey. I remember using Grease Monkey in various ways because, you know, you can literally, if a website that you visit frequently does something annoying, you can just go in and have the JavaScript neuter that.
Grease Monkey also had a social component where you could, if somebody figures out the secret incantation to make it stop doing the annoying thing, you could share it with other users. Google says that's malicious.
I'm sure they do, because that threatens their ad revenue.
Yeah, they're an ad-driven company. And speaking of revenue threatening, not really, right? I mean, it's an ant attacking an elephant, but the elephant really hates anyone doing this.
Nintendo applying for Palworld patents in the U.S. A whopping 22 out of the 23 have been rejected, but they're fighting. So if you've not heard of it, Palworld is an amazingly fun game that...
It's kind of like Pokemon.
Yeah, it's kind of like Pokemon, but it's sort of an amalgam of like the Pokemon sort of
capture monsters
but
mechanic.
with survival crafting.
But with survival craft, like it's a mashup, and it's a lot of fun. And Nintendo's like, wait a minute, this is all of our intellectual property, but it's not, because Nintendo like is not really the origin of that. The one patent that survived was a monster capture mechanic, which ironically is actually from another game. So I think that there's going to be prior art on number 23, and Nintendo is reeling.
And they didn't apply for any of these patents until well after Palworld existed.
Yeah.
But they've had a history of being able to go back and like, that's how broken that system is.
Yeah.
The threat to Palworld is also not existential. In Japan, they would be fined at most $66,000.
Well, they got my $20 or whatever. They should have a lot. And unfortunately, these kinds of headlines are just continuing to pop up, and I feel like this is our future, pretty much.
IT unemployment rises to 5.7% as AI hits tech jobs. Yeah, things are a little bleak. Thank you for subscribing on Patreon and Floatplane.
Thank you for watching this program.
Thank you for using the affiliate links to buy motherboards. That's also really appreciated.
And speaking of copyright nonsense, Amazon is really, really upset that you're reading books that you didn't buy from them.
Amazon is closing a Kindle loophole that makes it easy to remove DRM, and this is like USB transfers. The headline here is a little misleading too, because, I mean, yeah, it does technically remove DRM, but what if you have an extensive book collection already? It makes it a little bit more of a pain in the butt.
You need to rebuy it from Amazon.com.
That is exactly what they want.
It's disgusting.
And eventually they're going to take that away. Like we lost rights to 1984. We'll just delete it off your device. A thing that literally happened.
Yeah, there's been several like that. And you got to remember that, like on Spotify, sometimes I'll add a Spotify thing to my playlist and then it grays out. And it's like, wait, why is it grayed out? Well, there's some sort of licensing argument going on behind the scenes.
Can't I just own this?
And in the meantime, they're like, no, you just can't have it.
I this string of ones and zeros, I promise you I have licensed at least 5 times. Why can I not just play it?
Sometimes with Spotify too, like even if it's a song you own and you've put it on like on desktop, I went through and told it, hey, like pull these songs that I have saved on the desktop, and it's like, okay. But if I try to play it on mobile, it's like, I can't do that right now.
No, yeah, it won't cross over. And so there are still a couple of humans using the internet, actually, but they are being surveilled so that they can be replaced just like those IT workers.
AI licensing deals with Google and OpenAI make up 10% of Reddit's revenue. Also buried in this is that Reddit plans to paywall stuff later this year. What?
Well, the way they put it, he was like, you could have a community that you paywalled. I think they're trying to like be like a Patreon kind of thing, but that's a slippery slope.
They've made clear you don't own your community. Like they'll just
shut
you.
it down. Yeah. Why would I ever put anything on Reddit?
Once again, property rights. How do we reassert our property rights again? How do we defend our property rights against those that would trespass upon us?
We're not allowed to say that here.
Yeah.
And it's not just the IT workers, but everybody is looking to get rid of the old dead weight and bring in that AI talent.
Meta starts eliminating jobs in a shift to find AI talent. That is, I would have gone with a different headline, which is the last round of layoffs from Meta were so scathing that the workers are accusing Meta of being one of the cruelest tech companies that exist. And they have the stories to back that up. So it's not here, train your replacement. It is here. We need to install this thing to monitor you so that you're training your own AI replacement.
And perhaps
I purposely trained it wrong as a joke.
Perhaps one of the best things to come out of the current government upheaval is to open the eyes of some people who work in government. And, you know, it's easy to say, I told you so, but I think we should also add, it took you a long time, but welcome.
Federal workers say they increasingly distrust platforms like Facebook. They feel like their conversations with friends and coworkers are increasingly insecure when they communicate on these platforms. It's wild how that works, isn't it?
Accurate thoughts, friends. Accurate thoughts. And we've seen Apple, pretty much bend the knee to whoever, as long as they get paid. That's kind of their business model, and it's not stopped in 2025.
The Gizmodo headline is Apple has come crawling back to X like a dog because they've noticed that Apple is once again advertising on X/Twitter. And
$20 is $20.
Yeah, so it's like we're going to buy ads because they're effective on this platform because a lot of people are using this platform. But it is interesting how that platform is bifurcating along with like Blue Sky, because a lot of people have left X, but a lot of people haven't. And a lot of people that have left X have gone to Blue Sky and other platforms too. Yeah, maybe to a lesser extent Threads and that sort of thing. But it's sort of wild.
And this has been kind of a theme. I know Wendell with his pie in the sky thoughts that he's just going to fix it single-handedly. That's admirable, but maybe not realistic. Because look at where we really are.
Copyright madness. YouTube seems to doubt whether Shakespeare is in the public domain. You should read this story to understand the horror that we face every day with a platform like this. So there were videos of people doing Shakespeare. And this guy said, no, I've copyrighted this translation. And it was not even a translation. Like his translation was not even iambic pentameter, which should clue you in that whatever he's claiming copyright on was not what they were performing in the video, because Shakespeare. And YouTube's like, I don't know. Seems like this guy has a claim. We're going to just shut your video down.
Not just that. They shut down every appeal. So even when you have rock solid evidence and your appeal is completely valid,
any human who would look at that would be like, oh, right.
Shakespeare is ironclad.
Yeah.
You are being victimized. The automated system always falls on the side of the DMCA complaint. That's just how it's built.
The thing that this article also leaves out is when you do the counter complaint, you have to give up your physical address. So like if you're just an individual and it's like, I'm responding to this, you have to give your address, and this is the way that it's written in the law, because that's the address that they will serve legal notice on. It's supposed to be that like the content goes back up because it's like, no, I assert that I have the right to do this. If you don't believe that I do, here's the address you can give me legal service to. But that is, that's a lot to give up to randos that troll you.
And it costs them nothing. And finally, good news for some of you. The dark times are soon to be over. You can have your delicious pacifier back.
TikTok has returned to the Apple Store ahead of the new iPhone launch. Yeah, it's back now, actually. They expected that it would be back like Monday, but no, it's back now.
Can't launch a new iPhone without
It took a court order.
Let the people have their apps.
They're circuses.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Bread and circuses, except bread is
Eggs.
really expensive.
Eggs and circuses. Or eggs and apps, I guess.
Ooh, that turned out to be even shorter.
Oh, no.
But if you're angry about that, it's a good time to remind you that you should tell us your feedback on how we should
Like how should we restructure the news? What should we do? Playlists? Maybe we post the news, but we uncheck the send notifications. We did that one time. That was effective because a lot of you were like, "Hey, where's the news?" You were looking for it. We
Some
appreciate
people
that.
were looking for it. Yeah.
We were experimenting on you. We do experiment on you sometimes, just for fun.
With thumbnails, you've probably noticed as well.
We're going to need a couple of you to drill your skulls in the future.
And put the joy wire in.
Let's
Volunteer for
not
that.
forget Barbie Dreamhouse. We still get the occasional complaint that we've
Something
ruined.
we mentioned, yeah.
We've ruined someone's recommendations thanks to the Barbie Dreamhouse episode.
I'm still getting recommendations for like wine content after watching like 2 of those videos from the guy who was like a sommelier.
We don't want to manipulate the algorithm too much, but we do like when we expose its double standards. Like, we can't do a video telling you about the amazing extensions for Chrome that would rewrite, a la Grease Monkey. But we can run ads from Google for browsers that do that.
Anyway, tell us your thoughts below.